Hello, hello, hello. This is Talking Manchester United, a United Stand podcast with myself, Paul Gardner, and joining me, as always, is Ash Burns. Ash, how are you, my friend?
Very good, thank you, mate. Yeah, not a bad week. Weather's been decent. How about yourself?
Yeah, not bad at all. I'm just praying that the audio on my part is smooth today after the issues we've had over the last couple of weeks. We do thank everyone for your feedback. Obviously, I need to sort that out. So hopefully today will be fine. We are joined by two special guests. First of all, Andrew. Joining us
Gentlemen.
all the way from across the pond is Andrew Southwick, the red-bearded Red, as you may know him. Andrew, how are you, my friend?
Bro, I'm feeling fine, and never mind. I'm not gonna go with the full saying. I'm looking good. Looking good, bro.
You're looking good as well. You can say that because this is a podcast without video.
Yeah.
That's way too real, man. Way too real.
And also, we have another guest with us. It's Matthew McFadyen. Matthew, how are you, my friend?
Forehead. Sorry.
I knew that was coming.
Sorry,
I just knew it. I thought you were going to introduce me as like the man, the myth, the forehead or something like that. So I'm actually quite disappointed in that front.
Well, I'll remember that for next time then.
You should.
Okay, so today, guys, we're literally just going to be looking back at the Palace game, giving our thoughts on that. We'll also preview the game coming up against Southampton. And as always, staying true to Talking Manchester United tradition, we will be looking at the tweets that we've been getting over the last couple of days and reading them out and discussing them. So without further ado, let's crack on, shall we? Yes, Paul. Let's do that, Paul.
Yeah, let's go.
Sounds great. Yes, absolutely.
I thought you were going to fire straight into it, so I just left
I
you.
was going to, but I knew that if I held back, I knew there'd be a silence. So I thought, I'll entertain myself a little bit.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to throw it out to the floor. Palace, 3-1. Did any of you expect a 3-1 result, considering the circumstances that we find ourselves in?
Not for a second.
Matthew, fire away. Give us your thoughts.
Yeah, I was expecting like a 1-0 or something, like a Chris Smalling goal or something like that in the last 10 minutes.
A Chris Smalling goal after that horrendous miss against Liverpool?
I thought he'd redeemed himself. Clearly, I thought wrong though, but way better than what I was expecting. I thought it was going to be such a scrappy game where it'd probably be a set piece or something that wins it, but completely different to how I'd imagined it. It wasn't even just a case of a 3-1 win. We were actually dominating most of that game, apart from like 10 or 15 minutes that Palace had in the second half. And I think for most of it, even though despite the fact that we had Mason Greenwood aside, 9 first-team injuries, we actually did so well against a team who, they've never beaten us in the Premier League either, but they always give us such a hard time, and they're always so good against the top 4 teams as well. So I'd say even, under Ole so far, that's probably one of his best wins because it's a massive statement of intent. It says to the rest of the Premier League, look, we've got a depleted squad at the moment, but you know what? We're still winning games and we're still winning tough games and away games for that matter.
Yeah, I do agree with that actually. Sorry, I thought you stopped then.
Oh, no, I did stop, so go on.
I was just going to say, no, I do agree with that. Despite the record we have against them in the Premier League, for some reason, whenever we come up against Crystal Palace, I always do feel a little bit nervous.
Yeah.
I don't know why, I just do. But like yourself, I did also expect a scrappy game when you think of the injuries we've had. Andrew, I'll come to you next, soon as you are a guest as well. What were your thoughts on the game? Exceeded expectations? Were you expecting more? What were your thoughts?
Honestly, 100% exceeded expectations. I mean, you look at what we had going into that match, and in all honesty, I was expecting some of the youth to start in this match. I was expecting to see, Tahith Chong maybe playing on the right wing. I was expecting to see something different. And for what we got out there, I mean, I was very pleasantly surprised by the performance Romelu Lukaku put in. He wasn't great overall, but I would still give him an 8.5, 9 out of 10 for the performance he put in because we needed someone to step up in this match.
I think you could say that was a very typical Lukaku performance. In that he scored a couple of goals, but at the same time he did what he usually does, and he struggles to even play at the most simplest of passes sometimes. And he did hold the ball up well a couple of times, but I think that was a very typical Lukaku performance. A goal or two, but probably could have been more if he was able to pass the ball. There was a couple of times when he could have put Rashford through, but you underplayed the pass. Do you know what I mean? Little things like that where you think, oh, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you look at the performance that the team put in as a whole, and you never would have thought that we would have walked out of that with a 3-1 win before the match. I would have said maybe a scrappy 1-0, 2-1 win kind of game. I would have even thought a draw would have been a likely result. But to get a 3-1 and to dominate the match pretty much from start to finish, what else can you ask for?
Exactly. Ash, Martial, Lingard, Matic, Herrera, Mata, Valencia, Darmian, Jones, all out. What did you expect from the game against Palace?
I expected a win, not to be thinking, but I thought although Palace were in pretty decent form, we were obviously depleted. I still expected us to go there and put in a half decent performance to get the win. But as you've all said so far, I wasn't expecting us to do it with the dominance that we did, and I think the confidence overall, even with a depleted squad, there were some players playing who hadn't had so many minutes lately, and it was a bit of a mixed bag. But yeah, I thought we coped really well. And another area I think, that we've been improving in steadily is defence. I thought we defended fantastically well, apart from obviously the goal, which was a little bit of lapse in concentration. But apart from that, you look at our past couple of performances now, especially the game against Liverpool. You look at this game now against Palace, we've defended fantastically well, and something which has plagued us for quite a while now, and especially towards the end of Mourinho's tenure, we were leaking goals quite badly. So to see that come in, to see us a lot more solid at the back, a back four where most of the defenders that we play, regardless of who we bring in, are putting in decent performances now. It's refreshing to see. And yeah, I thought we dominated the game from pretty much start to finish. I think we always looked dangerous. Whoever we were putting up front, a few little frustrating things, but hey, to go away at Palace with so many people out and the form that they were in and win 3-1 is fantastic. Yeah.
I think one thing we did miss from that game was the ebb and flow that we've been used to seeing when you've got the likes of Martial, Lingard and Rashford in that front line, and Pogba, Matic and Herrera behind them. I think we did miss that. I thought it seemed a bit disjointed, but that's to be expected when you've got a group of players that have been put onto the pitch that are unfamiliar when it comes to playing with each other, if you know what I mean. Yeah. With players on the pitch, i.e. Fred, who have had very few minutes. And it was very clear in that midfield that ebb and flow, that the chemistry wasn't there, and which led to the predicted scrappy game, as Matthew quite rightly put it. Matthew, I'll come to you first. Who was your man of the match for the game? There's only one answer for this, really, surely.
I feel like that's a punt somewhere there. Luke Shaw, maybe. Either Luke Shaw or Lukaku. I mean, Lukaku, let's face it, his build-up play is non-existent, but he did what was needed of him. He came into the squad and I think we relied on him to get himself a couple of goals, and he did exactly that. But Luke Shaw for that assist alone was just unbelievable. Yeah. And defensively as well, positionally, that's something he's improved on so much since the start of this season. It's defensive positioning, because a few times he has those lapses of concentration, kind of like what Ashley Young has. But he's improved so much in that recently, and it showed again. It's been on a brilliant run of form.
Yep, I think I would agree with that. Luke Shaw is definitely my man of the match. And one of the things that I wouldn't say criticised him, but Ash will back me up on this. One of the things that I've been wanting Luke Shaw to improve on so much is knowing when to run forward with the ball, knowing when to carry that ball forward. And I thought that's something that he's been improving on so much recently. And a prime example of that was the build-up to Lukaku's first goal. That was just absolutely... Was it his first goal? Was his first goal, wasn't it? Yeah. Got the ball, seen the space, ran into it, used his pace and his power, shook off defenders, tidy little touch. I mean, it was getting into his... he's getting tangled in his feet a little bit, but he got it out of his feet into Lukaku. And I just thought that moment then, so much pride I felt when I seen that. Something I've been wanting him to do so much, so more often, because sometimes he looks unsure, doesn't he? Like, should I go now? Should I not? And I remember thinking back to a game when he was playing under Mourinho, and Mourinho said in a post-match interview that he had to be the brain for Luke Shaw. I don't know if any of you remember that, but he said it was it was his brain and Luke Shaw's body, and he wasn't wrong. He was absolutely right in saying that. But it looks like Luke Shaw is, starting to improve in that area of his game, and that's one of the areas I wanted him to improve, because that's what you look for in a fullback, not just his defensive style, but they're also important for the attack. Do you know what I mean? It's okay having a fullback that's absolutely immense, defensively. But in the modern day, in the game that we play these days, you need to have a fullback that can get forward, and provide extra options in your attack. And I think that he's improved in that area tenfold over the last year. Lindelof, what are your thoughts on Lindelof's performance and his general improvement over the last few weeks, Andrew?
I mean, Paul, Lindelof under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been absolutely phenomenal. He's basically replicating what he has been doing with his Sweden form. You look at what he's been doing with the Sweden international team, and you look at what he's now doing for Manchester United, and it is almost identical to what he has done. You go back and look at the World Cup, for example, and his World Cup was phenomenal. Everybody thought he's going to come back and be one of our best center backs. And yeah, he was good under Mourinho, but he was nothing like he has been under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and it's phenomenal to see. And honestly, the one thing that I've had private conversations with basically all of you about is I can't wait to see what Lindelof is going to get for a center back partner in the future. No matter, because we know we're going to buy a center back in the summer. I can almost guarantee it. It's just a matter of who is it going to be. And that's the exciting part, is seeing who's going to pair with him. Because Lindelof, in my opinion, you could make the argument he might deserve to be the future captain of Manchester United with the leadership he has brought to us.
Well, I'm glad that you touched on that leadership aspect of his game, because one thing I did see in the game against Palace a few times, actually, whilst watching the game, was he was being very vocal to the players in front of him, encouraging them to push forward. There were a few times when Fred and McTominay had the ball in the midfield, and you could see Lindelof behind them, like willing them to go forward with it, because that's what they've gone over in training and things like that, and that's what's been drilled into them. And you can see Lindelof there trying to encourage them to do that, and he's really settled into that role, and I hope that he can continue down that route, because I do think that he could make an excellent captain going forward. Well, speaking of going forward, let's move into the midfield. Ash, give me your thoughts on the midfield performance, i.e. Fred and McTominay.
This is a sort of a polarizing one for me, because I thought Fred, for the most part, I'd say probably 90% of the game was either anonymous or very poor. And going back to what you guys have just discussed, and I think one of the main things that Solskjaer has done superbly throughout this squad is improve the team's decision making, and I think that's one of the biggest factors for me. I think you look at the players that have been flourishing under Ole and how much they struggled under previous managers. You look at Marcus Rashford. I criticised him no end over the past couple of years because of his decision making, and I put my hand up to that. But under Ole, he just seems to have that little bit more composure. That quickness in decision making, same as Luke Shaw going forward, like you've just rightly said, he seems to have decision making. Same with Lindelof, his positioning, his decision making's been fantastic. And I think with Fred, maybe he's not been in that so much, but I think that's one thing that he needs to improve on. There was a few little, passes and stuff he put together, but I thought on the whole, he got bypassed far too easily at times. He was out of position, and I thought he was poor. I don't want to give up on him just yet, obviously, but it's not looking fantastic for him. In my opinion, I don't think he was that good. But on the other hand, I thought Scott McTominay, another player that I know a lot of people, including myself, have criticised him for. I personally, you can make arguments for Lukaku and you can make arguments for Luke Shaw, but look, encompassing everything, I thought he was my man of the match, Scott McTominay. And that was a massive statement from me to say that. Just because I thought he played in that Matic role. He was asked to play a little bit deeper, attacking, midfielder by trade, and I thought he was immaculate for most of the game. I thought he kept possession really well. I thought he kept us ticking over. He made some decent interceptions and put himself about, and I thought he was fantastic. I really did. Yeah, there was sort of two sides of the story there. I think Pogba was okay at times. I thought he was a little bit quiet again. But again, maybe that's the ebb and flow that we didn't have there. He didn't have his partners in crime with Matic and Herrera, who provide so much balance for him to get forward. But yeah, I thought it was, split my opinion really down the middle. But I thought McTominay was great. I thought Fred was quite poor. And Pogba was a bit of in between, I think.
Matthew,
So
do you
really
mirror
quick,
those? Sorry?
I was going to click. So when I was watching the match yesterday, I was actually at work and wasn't able to watch every second of the match. I didn't actually hear Scott McTominay's name called a lot, but from my understanding, from what I saw like on social media, I heard that basically he was really like kind of breaking up play and creating like misdirection for the team. Is that what he did? Because I didn't really get the chance to like see everything that he did. So that I just thought I'd ask the question really quick.
Well, you've got Ash's thoughts on that. Matthew, I'll come to you next before I give mine. Do you mirror what Ash has said about McTominay and Fred, or do you feel differently?
Nah, pretty much. I think Ash and I both share the opinion, or well, did a few weeks ago share the opinion that Scott McTominay was just one of the most basic players I think we've ever seen. And that you know, you've got some people saying, oh, it would be the next Darren Fletcher, but at least Darren Fletcher was quite good at everything. Whereas Scott McTominay, he's very much a 5 out of 10 in everything. However, the last couple of games, he's been a lot more professional in his performances, having to cover for Matic, and he's actually, you know, just done his job well. Nothing absolutely spectacular, but he's done exactly what's needed of him, and particularly in that Crystal Palace game. Palace were, you know, playing quite narrow as well, trying to get Zaha to cut inside quite a lot, but Scott McTominay just had absolutely none of it. He was breaking up attacks before they were even happening. And that's what you want to see in a defensive midfielder. And the fact that his name wasn't really mentioned that much is actually probably a good thing, like defenders in some regards, because you're not hearing much about them. You're just hearing the fact, or you're not hearing many bad things about them. So Scott McTominay against Palace was brilliant.
Well, I'm going to bring the tone down a little bit in with regards to McTominay. But Andrew, you know I'm quite tough with the with players from the player ratings I give on your live shows.
That is way too real.
Look, let's start with Fred, because I'm not going to say too much about Fred, because, yeah, it was a disappointing game. Yeah, he was very way off the mark, but that's to be expected. He hasn't really played very much. What was his last minutes? Were in December, I think. Was it something like that?
Yeah.
I think it was the FA Cup game, wasn't it?
Is it Reading or something? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah. So he's barely played. He's been on the sidelines a lot, so I kind of expected it. Now, McTominay, I thought, for the first 20 minutes, I thought he was probably one of our worst players on the pitch. In that, I think of the 4 or 5 passes that he made, 3 of them were wayward, giving the ball away. Every time he picked the ball up, it was always running sideways, passing backwards. In fact, you comparing him, saying that he stepped in for Matic and, you know, could be a Darren Fletcher. I think, if anything, he was more like Marouane Fellaini. Do you know? Honestly, I really do. But
similar height,
having said that, having said that, by the end of the game, I was thinking, do you know what? Fair play. He's grown into that game, and he's actually been half decent. As the game progressed, he did get better. He did improve. He settled, and he did play some good forward passes, I must admit. But the start of the game, I thought he was quite poor, to be fair. And I thought against Liverpool, he wasn't that great either. Nothing going forward. It was backwards. There was one point during that Liverpool game, I think it was the Liverpool game, it might have even been the Palace game, where he picked the ball up, he ran forward, then he ran sideways, and then he ran backwards and played the ball across to Luke Shaw. And the crowd, actually, you could hear them get frustrated with it. And I was just thinking, well, this is what he does. This is McTominay. There's nothing special about him. But like I said, as the game against Palace went on, he did grow into the game and he got a bit more confident. And one thing I did like about him is I think he's been watching Paul Pogba, because he's doing that thing where he throws his leg across and gets in the way and you know, protects the ball. I haven't seen him doing that up until recently. But yeah, he grew into the game, but I don't think for 1 second that he's going to become a regular Man United player. He's not going to be in that midfield 3 in either the Pogba or the obviously not in the Pogba role. Pogba's going to be there for the next 8 or 9 years, hopefully. He's not going to fit into the Herrera role, because he's not half the player Herrera is, and he's not going to fill the Matic role. I don't think he's got a future in that midfield. But that's just my thoughts. Let's move on to Sanchez. I want to talk about Sanchez, because that was a game for him to, you know, a game that he was starting in his favoured position against lower opposition. Okay, didn't have all the best players around him, but it was a chance for him to shine. Matthew, what were your thoughts?
Honestly, I'm just sick of Sanchez at the moment.
I think we all are, to be fair.
like I remember it used to be when he signed, everyone was thinking, right, he's going to be a star player here. And then the first season didn't really go that well, and we're thinking, right, he's got a pre-season now. Let's see what he does. And then he was still putting in clangers of performances. And then Mourinho went, and we're thinking, right, maybe under Ole he's going to have a few good games. Nope, not at all. It's been the same, if not even worse. He's had absolutely no impact whatsoever. And the fact that he's the highest wage earner in the club is just absolutely sickening. And there's that recent news that Ed Woodward, I mean, it's rumours at the moment, but it's some kind of news that Ed Woodward won't even give David De Gea the same amount of money that he gives to Sanchez, which I find an absolute disgrace, considering, he's been 100 times the player Sanchez has been across his whole Man United career. So yeah, against Crystal Palace specifically, again, he was just completely non-existent, like he was against Liverpool. It's not even the fact that he's getting the ball a lot and he's trying to do stuff now, and things just aren't working, and you can maybe say, okay, maybe some players aren't making the right runs or whatever. Nothing's working for him at the moment, and sometimes it's even just hard to watch.
It is quite sad to see.
Yeah, because we know how amazing he was for Arsenal. Like, he was that, tenacious forward who would constantly press the back line. Now I don't even know what he is. Like, there'd be times where he played defensive midfields, like behind McTominay and not Flaney, and Fred, picking up the ball and trying to just play a 5-yard pass. And it's just so weird to see. It's such a contrast compared to what he was at Arsenal and Barcelona.
It is quite a contrast. You're not wrong there. Any of you guys want to give your thoughts on the Sanchez performance?
I mean,
or is it a case of this is Sanchez. This is what he brings to United at the moment, and let's just move on.
Well, so we were talking about him on the show yesterday because Sanchez was somebody's name that was mentioned quite a lot, but not in good ways. Like, basically, they were talking about how he gave the ball away, or something would always be going on. And on the show yesterday, we were basically like, let's just move on from him as quick as possible because of the positive performance that everybody else put in. And I know I put the question in Twitter for you guys, but I might as well ask it now. Do you think it's time to no longer be giving Alexis Sanchez minutes, even if that means we're playing the kids?
Ash, do you want to go on that one?
I mean, in an ideal world, yes, but it's never ever going to happen because he's far too big of a name, regardless of what type of performances he puts in. He's on far too much money, which is ridiculous. So as much as we say, as the impact that he has, he's still going to get minutes, and especially with the likes of Lingard and Martial out, he's pretty much nailed on to start at the moment. I think I read somewhere that since he's been at United, he's been directly involved in 17 goals. I think it's 9 goals and 8 assists, or the other way around. I can't remember which one it was. And in that time, I think he's earned anywhere between 20 and 25 million pounds. So you can roughly say he's earned about between 1.1 and 1.3 million pounds per goal contribution since he's been at United.
Did you say 9 goals and 8 assists?
I think it's something like that. Is it,
or is
it?
Like
Oh no, wait.
It's about 5 goals and 4
Oh yeah,
assists,
sorry.
like
Yeah, no, you're right. He's got more assists than he has. Yeah, it's like 5 goals and something assists. Anyway, it adds up to like 17 or something like that.
Yeah.
And he's earned between 20 and 25 million quid.
I think someone needs to retake maths.
Yeah, I can't remember what I read. But yeah, it's something like between 1.1 and 1.3 million pound per goal contribution. And for someone, with the status that he is, with the talent that we know he's got, or we know he had, it's pretty ridiculous, to be honest. And for me, I mean, I was frustrated against Palace. I was very frustrated because, as much as Ole, talked up the youngsters, said that they're going to get minutes. He said on numerous occasions that they're ready, and he used that word quite a lot. They're ready. Team news comes out, and we've got an underperforming Sanchez on one wing, which is understandable, and then we play a right back on the other wing. When we've got a natural ready in quotation marks winger on the bench, which is a little bit frustrating. I'd like to see them get more minutes. And the thing is, as this goes on, the more ineffective that Sanchez becomes. Are we going to see him weaned out of the team? Probably not, to be honest. I don't know what will happen. Will he stay in the summer? Will he go? And I think it's not helping anyone, really, having him on the pitch. He doesn't really offer much. The only thing he can do, really, is pick the ball up wide and whip in an in-swinging cross. I think that's the only thing he's got to his game at the moment, because that can be effective at times. But apart from that, he offers absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I think I'm on the same page as these guys, Andrew, to be honest. But I think one thing we can look forward to is the return of Martial, which is only going to be a couple of weeks away. I can't imagine it'd be any more than that. And then Sanchez will once again be on the sidelines. So I think we just have to put up with it for another week or two, I think, and then we're back to normality.
And
moving forward,
that is very fair to bring it in that way. It just, for me, these next couple weeks, even if it meant playing the kids, I don't care. Alexis Sanchez should not be playing for Manchester United, and I mean ever again.
I'm with you. I'd rather play the kids over him, but it's a business, isn't it? I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd much rather see Tahith Chong playing. In fact, I'd rather have Rashford put on the left than Sanchez, with Tahith Chong on the right and Lukaku up top. Just while the other players are injured. Even though I'd much rather have, or even Lukaku on the left and Rashford up top. Just as long as Sanchez is out and Chong comes in, I'd be happy with that. But I think, if we're all going to be real about it, that's not going to happen. I mean, look, we played Fulham a few weeks ago. It was Palace last night. These were two games that Ole could easily have put in Garner or Chong or even Gomez. Earlier in the game, start them even. Perfect opportunities, perfect games to do it. And after all that talking up of, they're going to get minutes, plenty of them at the beginning of his tenure, it's a bit of a disappointment when you see games like that and they're nowhere near, they are near the starting lineup, they're on the bench, but they're not making any of the starting lineups. And when they do come on, it's usually just one of them for 10 minutes if we're in the position. But I do think that at the beginning, Ole, the board, the fans, we had no idea we were going to be fighting for a top 4 position. And I think that maybe because it's got to that point, priorities have changed slightly. Not, in Ole's head, he's probably thinking to himself, "Look, I could do something here. I could get us into the top 4 here, and possibly get the job." So maybe his priorities have changed slightly based on how good he's done, and you can kind of understand that. Do you know what I mean? In the situation that we're in, there's only 10 games left. Chelsea are going to keep winning games. Spurs are going to win games. Arsenal are going to win games. If we want to get into that top 4, we've got to continue winning. So in Ole's mind, he's probably thinking, I don't want to take any risks right now. And that you can understand. Whereas 2 months ago, when he took over, we were 12 points off 4th. And it was looking like top 4 was written off at that point. So you could understand that in his head, he's thinking, look, let's just, the aim was to get good football back, get everyone happy again, enjoying themselves, give the youth plenty of minutes, nurture them, blood them ready for next season. But obviously, as things have progressed, priorities have changed. That's just my theory on that. Anyway, I don't know what you guys think.
Hang on, I thought exactly the same. As soon as you said about his priorities changing, I thought exactly the same, and it became apparent with the Palace subs. I said actually before the game, I put a tweet out saying that you watch this space. I said that Rashford, I think I said Pereira, and I said someone else would come on, and none of the youth players would get any minutes. And I wasn't far off. And I think if Ashley Young hadn't have scored that late on, I don't think we'd have seen Jimmy Garner either. I think
you're right.
I think that was maybe just a bit of a buffer, which gave us a chance to bring him on. Did he have a touch on the ball? I think maybe he had one touch on the ball.
I think he did, yeah.
And that it was, you've hit the nail bang on the head there. And when I was watching that game, I thought he's flipped it. There's something that's gone in his head now that he's desperate to get this club into the top 4 again. And he's being very safe with his team selection and with his substitutions. And that was bang on for me. So as you rightly said, I can understand where he's coming from. I mean, that's going to be one of the biggest driving forces of him getting the job. If he does is get into the top 4, it's almost guaranteed that he'll get the job. So I can see where you're coming from, but it's frustrating nonetheless, being as we've got so many injuries at the moment.
Well, and I brought this up when we were 9 games into the season under Mourinho, that no club in the Premier League was ever in the position we were at and the amount of points off of top 4 we were at and made it back into the top 4 ever. Right now, we are on pace to get back into the top 4. Just think about that for a second. The fact that, like Paul said, we never thought that we were going to get back into the top 4. We thought Ollie was going to come in, at least make everybody look like they were having fun again. And he's not only making everybody look like they're having fun again, but we actually look like the Manchester United of old. How phenomenal is that we have had such a turnaround that now we can talk. But honestly, we've gotten to the point now where we're not even talking about Mourinho anymore. We're just talking about what Ole is doing and the fact that he has brought us to new levels. And I really do hope that he is given the full-time manager job, and very soon.
That's another discussion that maybe we should have very quickly. Is now the right time for United to give Ole the job? What are your thoughts, Matthew?
It's not the right time for them to announce it. That's what I'll sort of spin it on. I don't think announcing it is really going to have any benefit whatsoever, because it just puts this unnecessary pressure on him, and then some kind of unnecessary pressure on the whole team. I think, Woodward's probably talked to him and said, look, these results right now are absolutely fantastic. If you keep it up, then you're going to get the job. But announcing the fact that he's the sort of long-term manager at this point in the season, I don't see any benefit to it whatsoever.
Ash, what are your thoughts?
No, I don't think he should be announced as a manager. I don't think anyone should be announced as manager until May. And I've held steady on this thought. Exactly what Matthew said. It will put unnecessary pressure on him. We saw it at City a few years back when Pep took over. When Pep was announced sort of midway through the season, and who was it? No, who was in charge?
Pellegrini.
The Pellegrini. That's it. Yeah, and he just completely down tools. And as you already said, it does add unnecessary pressure. I think at the moment we're hungry, we're sharp. Not only the players, but obviously the coaching staff as well, because no one really knows what's going to happen, and it gives you that ruthlessness, I think, which keeps you fighting, and which is one aspect of the squad which is been unbelievable at the moment. As you both said, Ole was brought in to bring the enjoyment back and this and that, and I've seen that in part, I think, but what I've seen mostly is that ruthlessness, that we go after teams and we score and we keep going after them, which is what Manchester United are all about. So as much, look, if he keeps doing this, if he keeps playing the way we're playing and keeps grinding out these results, there's no doubt in my mind that I'd want him to be permanent manager. But at the moment, I don't know what I want to happen. But all I know is we should wait. We should wait until May. The board and Ed Woodward have made far too many knee-jerk decisions when it comes to managers and different things. Especially, you look at the Sanchez deal. That was done on a whim, I think, just to get one over on City and for the marketability. We've seen it backfire on us. So I think we should take our time. We should look, not. I don't want to say explore possibilities, but just look. Just take a step back. Don't make any rash decisions. And if we are going to give him the job, don't give him a 6-year contract. Negotiate something. Maybe give him a 2-year contract, 3 at the most, just to start off with. If you start chucking 6-7-year contracts at people, they get comfortable. And as much as I love Ole and I want him to succeed, you've got to keep people hungry. You've got to keep people fresh for them to want to succeed. So no one announced yet, but yeah, if he does get the job, fantastic.
And Andrew, did you say that you wanted them to do it now, or are you thinking now is a bad time?
So now here's the reason why I would give it to him now, and it's a little bit different thinking, but I just so you guys know, I do understand where you guys are coming from, because it does make the fight and hunger still be there. But number one, you give him the long-term contract now. I actually like Paul's idea of saying give it 2.5, 3 years, whatever you want to say. Give him a little bit more short-term of a contract, but it's going to let the players know, number one, this is who your manager is going to be for at least the next couple of years. So they know who's going to be behind them. And you're also then going to know, great example. We didn't know what was going to be going on with Martial, De Gea, all these people that were out of contract. And I think that Dave probably be given some reassurance that Ole is most likely going to be the manager of Manchester United. But if you give him the long-term contract now, it's going to make it so the team is going to want to fight that much harder for him, because there's no point in getting complacent now. Now it's a matter of proving the reason why he got the job. And everybody's going to want to step up their performance that much more. Or at least that's how I would be as a player. That if my club, the club I was playing for, gave my manager the contract after a guy that just brought us to new lows, and now we're flying high, I would want to play that much harder for him, because now he is the guy. We have to prove that he is the guy. That's just my opinion.
I think the key word there is complacency, and complacency is the reason why I think he shouldn't be given the job now. The way I look at it right now and in this moment is that the players and the manager are unsure of what's going to happen. A couple of the players have been interviewed. They like him. They want him to get the job. So right now, at the moment, with this uncertainty, they're giving it 110%, every single one of them, to get him the job, basically. And I just think that if it came out now, Ollie is... is my audio still okay?
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah. If the news was to come out now, or if a club were to announce it now and say, yeah, Ollie is the manager, 2-3 years, whatever, I can't help but think that they might just take their foot off the pedal just a little bit, knowing that their job's not done, but knowing that they've done enough that he's been given the job. That's my understanding of it anyway, because it's happened before. When announcements like this are made early, it does change the mentality slightly. I'm not saying that we're going to end up finishing mid-table again, but there might be a couple of games where we might be a goal down or 2 goals down, and under that pressure of, we want him to have the job, we might get that equaliser, we might get that late winner. If that comfort's there, look, the games like that, we might not pull it back. Do you see the point I'm trying to make? I'm not explaining it very well, but I think that complacency might kick in just a little bit naturally, not because they're thinking in their head, oh yeah, we've done the job, but just, little things like that.
And that's where I stand on it. But yeah, and I'm 100% behind what I think and what you just mentioned. But I can see where Andrew's coming from, and especially when it comes to the likes of Martial, who's already signed a contract, but obviously looking at David De Gea as well, and the Herrera. These players who have been so integral to our success recently are yet to commit their future to us, and maybe something along those lines. If Ole was to be confirmed, maybe it would give them a little bit more reassurance and they'd be more willing to sign, but we don't know. So from that sense, I can see why it would be beneficial, but I still stand by, like what you've said, Paul, is that complacency. Keep them hungry, keep them fighting. But yeah, I get it.
Okay, so let's move forward then. We have Southampton. We are at home, Saturday, 3:00 in the afternoon. A team in a relegation dogfight, 1 place above the relegation zone, 2 points above the relegation zone. Ash, do your thing for the United v Southampton preview.
Yeah, so Southampton, 17th place, only won 6 games all season, and they've drawn 9 games more than any other team in the Premier League, which is an interesting one.
So what you're going to say then is we're going to draw? Yeah,
pretty much. It's nailed on, yeah. Well, you look at their last 5 results, a 2-0 win against Fulham, which is a very good result for them, 2-0 loss to Arsenal, a 2-1 loss to Cardiff, and then 2-1 all draws with Burnley and Palace, respectively. So it's a mixed bag. One thing that I will say is they seem to be scoring pretty freely at the moment. They are leaking goals, obviously, as well. So it's very reminiscent of a game that we looked at. I can't remember what it was, a couple of weeks back. It might have been Burnley. But we said that they're conceding goals, they're scoring goals, and they're not in the greatest place on the table. I think they're playing us at possibly a good time for us. Yes, they've had a good win against Fulham. That could play into our favour with, give them a little bit more of belief. And they come to Old Trafford and we absolutely massacre them, which I'm hoping that happens. But I think I'm glad it's at home. I think it may give us a little bit more freedom to experiment with maybe 1 or 2 changes again. Maybe, Rashford's a little bit fitter, a little bit sharper. He might get the start. And I think with that freedom, with that comfort, I think we might see Ole learning maybe from the last game against Palace to see who fit in, who wasn't great. Maybe again, looking at Fred as well and McTominay. To maybe even Jimmy Garner, which you mentioned, could get some minutes. So it's going to be interesting. I expect us to get the win. But first, looking at their danger men, who are we frightened of from Southampton, gents?
Well, let's go. Let's bring Matthew into this one first of all. Then Matthew.
I mean, there's not really many Southampton players who I really fear, to be honest. I think they're 17th in the table, something like that.
Yeah.
Even after the new manager taking over, so-called Alpine Klopp, and he's living up to that by absolutely bottling it. So, I mean, James Ward-Prowse, I think, is starting quite a few games with Southampton recently. Yeah. He's got himself a few goals. Always a threat from set pieces as well. I remember a few years ago, people were calling him like sort of David Beckham version 2, and hasn't quite lived up to that, but he's got that dead ball delivery that can cause anyone problems. There's the centre-back, Yannick Vestergaard, who's about 6'7". I mean, defensively he's not great, but when you're that height, when you're Peter Crouch's height, you're of course going to cause some problems up front. And then there's Charlie Austin as well, who gets himself a fair few goals. He's not the most glamorous of forwards, but seems to always chip in with a few goals here and there, especially against teams like Arsenal. So they do have a few players who can maybe do something, but honestly, I don't see them really having that much of an effect on us.
How about you, Andrew? Do you share the same views as Matthew, or can you think of any other players that might cause us some problems?
Honestly, dude, really what he said is exactly what I was thinking. There was really no one I could even think of that I'm like, that's one specific guy that I'm worried about. This is honestly, it's very reminiscent. And Ash, I'm pretty sure it was the Burnley game where you guys were talking about Southampton very similarly. But yeah. I don't want to go into this match with the same mentality as we did this Burnley match, because for me, like, this is we need to come out of this with a win. We do. So we cannot take Southampton lightly. That's the one thing we just can't do. I'll say that.
No, I think that's fair enough. I think there's a couple of other players you could put in there as well. Yep. Nathan Redmond being one of them. I mean, he didn't have a great start to the season, but recently he's come into a little bit of form. He's got a few goals and a couple of assists as well. I mean, it's only 3 goals and 2 assists all season, but we do know that he can cause problems. He's quite quick. He's definitely good at playing the ball across the box, across a 6-yard box. Danny Ings, we know he's Southampton's top scorer at the moment. Again, he's not a prolific goal scorer, but he's got an eye for goal. So if you give him half a chance, he'll take it. So that's a few players: Ings, Ward-Prowse, Redmond. It's a few players to look out for. No, they're not huge threats, but you still got to be like Ash quite rightly said. They are still scoring goals. They don't often go a game without scoring. So there are players you got to look out for.
I think I've got pretty much what you gents have said. Ward-Prowse, Redmond. I put Shane Long in there as well. I don't know if he's fit or how many games he starts them up, but we know he's got pace. We know he can put himself about. Another player I've put in there as well is Højbjerg, because I know he's talented. He's still quite young, and he's quite imposing in the midfield. And given our instability in the midfield at the moment with Herrera out, and we don't know what's happening with Matic and stuff like that. So if, say, for instance, we play some inexperienced youngsters or player in midfield, I think he might have a say on what happens. You could say Lamina as well if he gets on. He's got talent and he's got pedigree as well. And then I think maybe someone who's coming back, going along the same lines as Redmond, as you said, Paul, is Ryan Bertrand. I think he could be fit for this game. And I'm thinking down the left-hand side with Redmond and Bertrand overlapping and helping each other out, coming against Ashley Young, who's not been great defensively, let's be honest, over the past couple of weeks. So I think maybe that might be the only avenue that they cause us problems is down that right-hand side, well, our right-hand side, their left-hand side, if they overload it with Redmond and Bertrand. Other than that, I can't see too many problems that they're going to cause us, but yeah, you never know.
I think that's a good shout, actually. That's a very good shout. Redmond and
Bertrand.
I mean, Bertrand hasn't really had a great season.
No, he's been injured a bit as well.
Yeah, but we do know the quality he possesses, and it's always against United that these players who have that in their locker tend to open their locker.
Yeah. Always the way. Always the way. So looking at us then, are we going to stick the same as we did against Palace? Are we going to bring some of the youngsters in? Give us your starting 11s, gents. Don't care which order you go in.
Matthew, do you want to go first?
All right, then. Sure. It's going to be I've got no idea how I'm going to predict this starting 11 because then.
Or we could all go through together.
Yeah.
Pool
our resources. Pool our resources.
I think to be fair, goalkeeper's a bit of a conclusion. I think it's David De Gea starting there. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's got to be David De Gea.
Yeah.
Got to be Dave, isn't it?
Lee Grant sets out once again, but he'll get time.
Yeah.
All right, who be putting it right back then?
I'd probably keep Ashley Young. Even though he's a terrible footballer, let's face it.
Yeah. He is an oxygen thief, as George Kyle would call him.
Yeah.
We do not let oxygen thieves be out here, Matthew. We out here in 2019, bro.
He needs to start carrying a plant with him when he's running up and down the wing to replace all the oxygen he's wasting, is it?
I mean, Matthew, I get where you're going with, but like for me, after the performance Delo put in on the right wing, which is not his natural position, how would you not give him a start in that match?
See, no spoilers or anything, but I was going to start Delo on the right wing.
Same.
So yeah.
Oh no, wait, no, I'm starting him at right back.
Well, I would go with Dalot at right back.
So we've got 3 Dalos and a Young. Matthew, you're overruled. I'm putting Diogo Dalot at right back.
I mean, I'm fine with that. If I'm honest.
Centre back pairing. Who are we going for?
Smalling, Lindelof.
Yep. No
Second.
question about it.
Yeah, there we are. That's unanimous. Smalling and Lindelof centre backs. I think there's only one choice, obviously, for left back, isn't there?
It's got to be Luke Shaw.
Yeah, Mr. Luke
It's
Shaw.
Luke Shaw.
Now, this is going to be interesting. Midfield. I'm assuming we're going to go with a midfield duo behind Paul Pogba in some fashion.
I would imagine so, yeah. 4-3-3, 4-2-1-3, 4-3-2-1. What do you know what I mean? Let's go 4-3-3. Let's keep it simple.
Yeah, 4-3-3. So
and it can be a
3.
triangle. It can be 2 and 1 or 1 and 2.
Yeah. Who are we playing? Andrew, who you got?
So let's just start off with the CDM position. If we're going to go with a 4-3-3, let's start with McTominay. I think McTominay's going to start.
Yep. Interesting. Paul?
Do you know what? Just because I would rather see someone else play there, I'm going to say Pereira because, like I said to you a couple of weeks ago, Pereira played 1 or 2 games in that position under Mourinho, and I thought he played that position very well because he's got a very good passing range on him.
Yeah.
And I think that stick Pereira in that position against Southampton. We're at home as well.
Yeah. Matthew?
See, I think Pereira would be a good choice, but when you've got such a depleted squad, one thing you need to try and really keep a hold of is consistency. And I'd probably start Scott McTominay there, even though Pereira's, technically a better player. But McTominay, to be fair, kind of deserves a starting position.
See, and I don't want to sort of blow my own trumpet here, but we've gone for a sort of split down the middle of McTominay, Pereira, and those were my 2 central midfielders that I put in my choice. So I'm quite happy with that.
I was going to say I'm going to put Pereira as one of the central mid spots.
Yeah. So you've gone with McTominay, Pereira, and Pogba as a midfield 3.
Yep, that's essentially where I went.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Paul, Matthew, what you reckon?
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, Pereira can't do any worse than Fred at the moment.
Yeah.
Watch him score an own goal.
Don't say that, Matthew. Don't say that.
He'll score an own goal and get yeeted off the pitch for some 2-foot tackle from behind.
Paul?
Well, where I'm going with this midfield 3 is I want Pereira to play in the Matic role.
Yep.
For the reasons I just mentioned. And then to the left of the midfield 3, Pogba. That's where he's been at his best.
Yep.
And then on the right-hand side of the midfield 3, I want Fred to be playing there again. Because like I said earlier on, he wasn't very good, if not poor against Palace. But did also, and I think we all agree that, it's to be expected when you consider he hasn't played since December. So give him another chance. Why not? Against Southampton, depleted squad. If he's not going to play Garner, if he's not going to play anyone else from the kids, from the youth team, give Fred another run out.
So Paul,
I would like to see. I would
love to see Gardner.
Yeah.
I would love to see Gardner to start.
Be nice.
But I don't see any way that Gardner gets to start. It's like as unfortunate as it is, I just don't see it happening.
Now I don't know if you're getting him confused with me. I'm Gardner. The United player is Garner. No, there's no D.
Am I saying Gardner? I say Gardner is like it just comes out with a D. I apologize because I know it's Garner.
Yeah.
It's because you're used to speaking to me, and my surname has the D in it.
You know what? That's fair. Damn it, Paul,
let's go with that.
So Paul's playing in the midfield 3. Got it. Good.
So we've established
Can't do any worse than Fred.
So Fred, Pereira, and Pogba are going to play in the midfield 3. Is it all that sauce?
Yep.
Why not?
That's what I'm going with.
Okay. I've gone with McTominay instead, but that's we've debated on that enough. Front 3, is it going to be any different of Sanchez, Rashford, and Lukaku? Let's be honest.
Yes.
It's not in my opinion.
Okay. Andrew's going yes. Go on then, Andrew.
So I really believe we are going to see a mix-up. I do think that Lukaku will start up front. I 100% believe that. But I actually believe we will see Tahith Chong start on the right wing.
I hope you're right.
I think that this match it will be the one that we will see Tahith Chong start. And then I think that on the left, if you were asking me, I would say Sanchez needs to be dropped, at least for the very purpose of saying, hey, you absolutely disappearing off the pitch nonstop needs to stop. And so you're not going to be playing in this match. And we're going to I wouldn't necessarily play Gomez, but I would think about playing Gomez if it was me personally, but I'm also crazy. So don't always take my opinion. But we cannot play Alexis Sanchez on the left. You cannot reward bad behavior. You just can't.
Nice. Matthew.
I don't know. It's a bit of a weird one. I'm not going to lie. I don't know the updates with the injuries. So I don't know if Rashford's going to be match fit or whatever. So that's why I was originally thinking Dillo could start on the right wing again. Because he did pretty well against Palace. Seemed to get past his man quite well and put in some good crosses. But yeah, if we're going to start him and right back, then front three, I'd probably start Chong. I'd start him. I think he can't be any worse than the likes of Sanchez, let's face it. And just the fact that we've got so many injuries. Keep Lukaku in because he deserves a start after his 2 goals against Palace. And yeah, if Rashford's fully fit, then get him back. To be fair, though, a half-fit Rashford probably has more impact than a fully fit Sanchez at this rate.
Yep, I agree with that too. So,
have you guys heard anything about Martial yet? I'm just curious.
I think it's a little bit too soon for him yet. We might see him on the bench, but apart from that, I've not heard a lot.
Yeah, I don't think he'll play.
Well, the last thing that Solskjaer said was that he would definitely miss the Palace game, and he might be available for Southampton, but they wouldn't want to risk it if they're unsure. So my gut feeling is that he's not going to be there. Nor will Lingard, nor will Matic or Herrera, nor will Mata. And obviously, Valencia, Darmian, and Jones are all out as well. The only player I think who's likely to play is Rashford. Obviously, he was fit enough to play when he came on against Palace. He looked sharp as well. He didn't look like he was carrying an injury. So hopefully, I think he'll be the only one of the current players that are injured who will be fit, ready to play.
So actually, why not do this then? Why not do Rashford on the left, do Lukaku up top, and then have Chong on the right?
Yeah, sounds great to me.
Mm-hmm.
But the three that I've got on here, I don't like it, but I tend to go with what I think is going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't think Chong's going to start. I think if he was going to start, he would have started against Palace. Although we are at home.
Yeah.
And Southampton are in a worse situation than Palace. So, he might. I don't think he will. I do think Sanchez is going to start, and I do think that Sanchez is going to start on the left. I do also think that that Lukaku will start because of the 2 goals that he scored against Palace, and I think he'll start up front. And I think Rashford will also start, but I think he'll be playing on the right.
I've got something similar.
So, I mean, the only reason why I was thinking that Chong might start this match is because we are at home. It's going to give him that little bit of extra energy. It's going to make him fight that much harder, and especially considering the fact that will be his first start for the main squad for Manchester United. I think that it's a perfect opportunity to do it.
I hope you're right.
Oh, I'm right. I'm right.
Right, predictions. I'm going nice and early in with a 3-0. That's me. They're not scoring past our defence.
I'm going to go with a bit more of a safe prediction. I'm going 2-1.
Okay.
I'm going 2-1 because Southampton are scoring. We conceded one against Palace. We are keeping more clean sheets, but we haven't kept a lot
Ashley
of them.
Young.
Yeah, we've still got Ashley Young playing as a right back, and as you quite rightly said earlier, Ash, you've got Redmond and possibly Bertrand, who and Redmond's been in a bit of form recently, and up against Ashley Young, especially if he's getting forward a lot, I just think we can end up being exposed down that left hand side, and they might get something from it. I do think they'll score. And with all of our injuries, I know we put 3 past Palace, but we're not going to score 3 goals every week with the depleted squad we've got. So I'm going to go 2-1.
Okay. Gents?
Yeah,
Matthew, you want to go first?
I'll go with a 2-0 win, I think. Yeah, Southampton, have got a few players in form, but like Ash said, I don't see them getting past our defence. Although then again, it's the last 10 games of the season, and teams around that relegation zone can just come up with some of the strangest results you'll see. So I wouldn't put it past.
This is true.
Pretty difficult game, but 2-0.
So I think this is going to be a really scrappy game. I think it's going to be very similar to the Burnley match. I think that we will come out of this with a win, but I would say it's probably going to be 2-1. I think this is going to be very, very scrappy, and it's not going to be an easy one to win.
Well, we certainly know the pessimists and the optimists are in this little four-way, don't we?
I just don't want to get overly excited yet, because I get that we went out there, we dominated Palace, and Palace are a better side, but the last time I had a feeling like we were going to go out and dominate a team, despite the fact that, we really should have dominated Burnley. We didn't. So I don't want to get overly optimistic, missing as many players as we are.
No, I'm on the same page as you, and I've gone with 2-1 as well.
Okay. Happy days. We happy with that?
Okay, well, I think that about wraps up the Southampton preview. So we know what comes next, don't we?
We do indeed.
Ash, take it over to Twitter.
So, yeah, as usual, tweet goes out. What would you like us to discuss? You two have, for some reason, put your own questions on there, even though you're on the bloody thing. So,
I'll say what, Ash, me and you will answer those then, and they can sit quiet for a minute.
Okay, fine. So Matthew said 2 pretty subpar performances from Alexis Sanchez. He's got an extra 400 grand in his bank. How gut-wrenching is that? I think we've talked a little bit sort of at length about Alexis Sanchez and how ineffective he's been. On a more positive note, the win against Palace, unspectacular to other clubs, a real statement of intent for United, arguably our biggest win in Ole's tenure due to the circumstances, and good to see Jimmy Garner come back.
Definitely was a big win. I think, like we said at the beginning, we expected a scrappy game, unsure of what the outcome was going to be. Now, myself, I was a bit nervous. Like I said, playing against Palace, for some reason, I always am. So, yeah, it's definitely a very significant win. Biggest win in Ole's tenure? Not sure. I think you could look at the FA Cup win against Chelsea, the away win against Arsenal and Spurs as big wins in Ole's tenure for what it means for him, more than anything else. But, yeah, definitely fantastic to see Garner coming on. Again, another young player that just they look comfortable, and I think that comes a lot from the training, because Mourinho done it a lot as well. Always had the youngsters training with the first team, so they get used to being around them. So that's a big part of their development, and so it's good to see them coming on the pitch, and hopefully he'll get some more minutes before the end of the season.
Yeah, fingers crossed. It's always great to see the youngsters coming through, but it's keeping it consistent and getting them consistent minutes. I mean, you don't get a Marcus Rashford every season. So I'm hoping either at least one of the youngsters can stay in the squad and keep getting consistent minutes and really takes their chance. I think it'll add another dimension to our squad as well.
Absolutely. I think we can skip over Andrew's comment, because he did ask us that question again earlier in the podcast.
Very true. You reflected my thoughts exactly. So moving down then, Robin Kenston, shout out to Iceman. Anytime that Lindelof has a decent performance, he's got to chime in because he's Swedish as well. We get it, Robin. Yes, he's doing very well.
At the beginning of the podcast, when I mentioned Lindelof, I was thinking in my head, Robin will appreciate that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he will. But yeah, doing great. Moving down, United, we right. Ole's getting so much out of mediocre players. Do you think that will lead to some deadwood players staying instead of being sold in the summer? Great question. Who wants to lead on that?
Matthew.
I think that's a bit of a double-edged sword, really. Because, some of the deadwood are playing well at the moment, but they're still deadwood. 2 good games doesn't change squad status by any means. And we saw that Phil Jones put in a few good performances anyways. And he's got himself somehow a new contract. So there's that kind of danger that, these mediocre players might go on a run of a few good games and then end up for some reason rewarding themselves with a new contract. But no, I'm just happy with how the deadwood is done against Palace specifically.
Yeah.
I don't really feel there's too much more to comment on that.
Andrew?
For me, I would say that we are going to see some players leave. I know that the rumor came out that Antonio Valencia might be getting a new contract. I call BS on that. I mean, the guy hasn't been seen for God knows how long. He's got to be either, number one, done playing football, or at the very least be done for Manchester United. I mean, let's be real. The guy has been abysmal for Manchester United overall, for being the guy that was supposed to be the replacement for Cristiano Ronaldo. But I think Darmian's probably gone. I think that I still believe that Phil Jones was given a new contract to be sold on. I just think we didn't want to lose him for free. And I know that might be being optimistic here, but I think we will see some players let go. But I do not think we will see a mass clear out like some people will want, though.
No, I think I would agree with Andrew on that one. My thoughts on this are, I think it will be a case of players will leave. You got players like Marcus Rojo. I think he'll be out. I think Darmian will be out. I think Valencia will be out. So that's 3 players there straight away who aren't playing, who I think will be gone in the summer. And I do think it's going to. I basically think it'll be the same as what we get every year. So we won't bring in no more than 3 players. Yeah, some of the deadwood will be gone. But I don't think that Ole getting these mediocre players to play well will have much of an effect on it. I mean, he could start playing Darmian at right back. If Darmian starts playing absolutely fantastic, I don't think that means he's going to stay just because he's played 8 games. I still think he'll move on. I think I think those 3 players are dead certs to be moved on in the summer. So I think Deadwood will still be going in the summer.
Yeah, I think you're never going to clear all of the Deadwood in the summer. But I think you're right. I think a couple of players will go. Valencia, I think, being the main one. The captain of Deadwood FC lives on in Phil Jones. So fair play to him for getting another contract, for stealing another contract. I'm sure the Draughty Devil will be pleased with that, being as he is the founder of the Phil Jones FC fan club.
He is the chairman.
He is indeed. Yeah, but no, I mean, it would be nice to clear out some of the Deadwood, but you got to look at it, from a business perspective. And, are we going to upset the squad if we get rid of too many and start bringing more people in? I think the fullback position, we've got quite a few fullbacks, but the majority of them are pretty garbage. So yeah, we need to clear out, but. As you rightly said, probably 2 or 3 will go in the summer. If any more go than that, that's a bonus for us. But yeah, I think we need to concentrate as much on acquisitions as we do as getting rid of the others. Moving on then, Michael Stow. When, in brackets, Ole gets the job, will he be backed in the transfer market? He's winning at a 90% rate with this group, and the board may think no investment is needed.
Just touching on what I said a moment ago, I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. The club has a transfer strategy that they've been executing very similarly for the past 5 or 6 years, and I think it's going to continue down that vein. I don't think we're going to see a mass clear out. I don't think we're going to see a mass overhaul of the squad. I think it's just going to be slow and gradual, as it has been over the last 5 years. I think that's the strategy they've adopted, and I think that's how it's going to continue.
Yeah, gents, Matthew, Andrew.
I mean, I'll go first.
Yeah.
I think that we will see Ole given about $250 million net in the summer.
Yeah.
I think that we will likely see 3 to 4 players brought in. I think we will see 2 or 3 big name players brought in for that price tag. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious we need to get a top class center back in to pair along Victor Lindelof. I mean, Chris Smalling is somebody that defensively, yeah, he's sound, but at the end of the day, he looks like Bambi on ice with his feet when he gets the ball at his feet.
Yep.
I would think for me, I don't know if it's Matthias Delek or Mathis Delek. Either way, that's a dream. Same with Rafael Varane. That'd be a dream. But I think the likelihood is it's going to be somebody like Harry Maguire or Koulibaly. I'd love to see a right winger brought in. If Tahith Chong cannot break into the squad and get minutes by the end of the season. I know Draughty has been big time on bringing in Jadon Sancho. It's somebody that I would love to see brought in. If we are going to bring in a right winger, killing Mbappe is unrealistic. Bring in Jadon Sancho. That is realistic. That is a realistic player to bring in. And then, honestly, we need another midfielder. We do. Because look at what just happened with having Andrew Herrera and Nemanja Matic go down. We can't have that happen again next year. So at the very least, we need someone decent to be brought in for depth. And I would prefer to bring in somebody big name like Ruben Neves to come play CDM and let Matic be the guy come off the bench.
Interesting. Matthew?
Yeah, I think in terms of investment, we'll see. I think we'll see one or two big players come in. I don't think we'll see, like a massive overhaul like some people are predicting. But yeah, Jadon Sancho is probably the dream signing. He's just like he's pretty much like an old school winger, almost in that he'll look to get wide, he beats his man, he's with absolute ease, gets tons of assists, and I think he'd be perfect for that position. Because even though Lingard's done really well under Ole, he's still not really, first or starting 11 quality for a team who wants to win the league. Whereas Jadon Sancho, he's probably even better than what Lingard is at the moment, and he's about, I think,
head and shoulders.
18
yeah.
years, yeah.
He's 18 years old, and I mean, he's only going to get better. So Jadon Sancho is probably the signing that I'd take over anyone at this moment. I think we do need a centre-back. I don't know about Harry Maguire. I think since Brendan Rodgers has taken over at Leicester, I think he's a perfect Brendan Rodgers centre-back. I'd say probably someone like a Koulibaly, if possible. I mean, there's obviously been issues with him at his club, and it does seem like he'll probably move in the summer. And I think there was one or two big clubs that were completely ruled out of it, including Juventus. So I think Koulibaly's agent says that he doesn't want to disrespect Napoli like that, so chances are he's going to go to a different league. And if he becomes available, then I hope to God that the board just step in and try and get him at all costs. Because I think next to Lindelof, he's going to be a perfect centre-back, because it's that, Rio and Vidic kind of, partnership, or it's reminiscent of that at least. And I think hopefully a CDM can be brought in, because look, Matic has been good under Ole so far, and McTominay's had one or two decent games, but we need a good player. We need a player who can actually play that role really well, and Ruben Neves is probably one of the better choices for that. There's been talk once or twice about N'Golo Kante because of how, poor the man management has been in regards to him at Chelsea. I think he'll stay though, because it seems like Sarri's going to leave in the summer. But as long as we bring in one or two, big name signings, and people are just going to improve the squad in general, because starting 11, I think we've got a very good starting 11. But when you look at that bench, I mean, it's not exactly pleasing in the eye. Let's just say that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's a few areas that we need to improve on. Obviously, I mean, 99% of the fan base knows this, and I think as well as the starting 11 looks, I think we need strength in depth at fullback. We need to get Ashley Young out of the first 11 desperately. I think maybe next year, with another year on the clock, I think Matic will start to struggle as well. We saw him at times this season when the fixtures became congested. He looked a little bit tired. So whether Ruben Neves or whether Kante, I don't know if Kante would come, as you said, but yeah, we definitely need some top class players. And you look at the right wing, we talk about Chong stepping in. I think Paul and myself have discussed this a few times. As much as I want the youngsters to do well, I think if we want to be challenging on a few different fronts next season, we need someone ready-made and pretty much world-class at right back. And we need to make sure whoever we sign in the summer works. We've had too many years now. We're faffing about throwing money at stupid players that don't fit into our system and don't fit the ethos of the club. You're looking at your Sanchez's, your Freds. Obviously, it's still a bit early for Fred yet, but those types of players that we're throwing money at and they're sitting on the bench. Got to be effective transfers, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that.
Yeah. And then the last two questions we've already touched on. Alex Robbins talks about Fred, which we discussed in the Palace review. And Joseph Gichana, he says, the board announcing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Why do the board announce Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? I think he means why did the board not announce? But again, we did a little bit of a discussion on that before as well. Moving on to the tweet, we said when Matthew and Andrew, things just got sexy. Nice, Andrew. I like that. I saw that. Mike Zoltan, in the summer, would you prioritise buying a centre-back or right-back if you could only choose one? Interesting. And basically, do you trust Delo and Young or buy in Smalling next to Lindelof more? So if we only had one, would it be a centre-back or would it be a right-back?
Andrew, do you want to go first?
100% a center back, because I believe Delo could be the future at right back. Why risk anything? Because we all know that a center back needs to be the priority of any position. Center back is the one we need to prioritize, because I believe we've still got the youth if we wanted to. to bring through. Yes, Axel Tuanzebe is somebody I would love to see given chances. But at the end of the day, if you were telling me I could bring in somebody like Koulibaly, like any of the top name guys out there, 100% that's who I'm bringing in. So center back, without question.
Matthew?
I don't know, really. I think out of all the defenders who, aren't first-team quality, I trust Ashley Young the least out of all the defenders. But then again, I think a centre-back's probably more of a problem area that we need to address quickly. Although we've got Axel Tuanzebe coming back, and he's been, absolutely brilliant for Aston Villa. I mean, I'm not a Villa season ticket holder by any means, but from what I've heard, he's been a brilliant player for them. Yeah, I'd probably say centre-back. However, I wouldn't say, by an absolute mile, we need to address centre-back more than right-back. I'd say both are, areas with their issues.
See, I would go against the grain a little bit here, and I'd probably say right-back, because in terms of our centre-back pairing, Lindelof and Smalling have done well, I would say. And I said this last season as well. I said there's other areas, because we wanted a centre-back last season, but I thought there was other areas that we need to focus on. Right side of our attack, for example. I know that's not one of the options here, but last season that was a huge priority. We didn't fill it in the end. At the moment, like you quite rightly say, we've got Valencia and Young. Both of them, neither of them are actually right backs. We've got one who's going to be off in the summer, I believe. I mean, he's been injured for ages. He hasn't played, and he's not going to come back into the team and suddenly be brilliant. So then you've got Ashley Young, who's just, as of late, been absolutely diabolical. It's actually quite astonishing just how poor he's been in the last couple of games. And Diego Dallo, which we don't really know much about him at the moment. We've not seen enough of him to be able to confidently say, yeah, he's going to be a solid right back next season. So I think, for me at least, anyway, a right back would be more of a priority than centre back.
And I'm with you. Yeah, I think right back. I think that is, when I look back at large parts of this season. Yes, we know we're always going to have problems with Chris Jones, and Phil Smalling. Yeah, we know we're always going to have problems with those two. The Chocolate
We've
Brothers.
just got two new centre backs, guys.
Hey, fantastic. You look in the last couple of months, where are we conceding the most chances? You only have to look at the last two games. Where have the most chances come from? Against us, and it's been at right back.
Yeah.
Against Liverpool, Ashley Young gave the ball away no end of times. He almost cost us a goal in the first minute, pretty much, with a back pass. Again, the goal that we conceded against Palace came from Ashley Young being hesitant and not clearing the ball and trying to be clever with it. We could have done a little bit better.
I think he had his own little battle with Zaha, didn't he? Yeah, he was trying to get the better of him, and it backfired.
Yeah, and he got rinsed on a couple of occasions. So for me, I think it's right back. And as you rightly said, we've got Valencia, who doesn't play. He's the club captain, and Lee Grant can speak better Spanish than Valencia can speak English. Been proven, by the way, which is quite worrying. And then Ashley, two failed wingers, both in their approaching their mid-30s, and a 19-year-old inexperienced youngster. So right back for me. I mean, as poor as the likes of Smalling and Jones, and Bailly has been erratic as well. They're experienced. They've done it for years, especially with the likes of Smalling and Jones. They've been playing in the Premier League for years. So as poor as they can be, we know they can perform, which is something that's not happening at right back at the moment. So yeah, right back would be a priority for me as well, if I could only pick one.
Fair enough. Yeah, I would agree.
Mike Salton again, he says, it's United tradition to play with wingers, but given that Pogba likes to occupy the left wing from his number 10 position and our lack of a solid right winger, thoughts on playing a front two with Martial and Rashford and using Pogba as an auxiliary left winger?
Andrew, do you want to go first on this one?
Could you have Matthew go first?
Matthew, do you want to go first on this one?
Matthew?
I've done it. I've muted myself. I do it all the time on Andrew's channel. Why don't I expect this? But yeah, I don't really think having wingers are necessarily such a priority. I'd say as long as we have some kind of source of width, and as long as the fullbacks are getting forward, like we're seeing so many times, Like the fullback's natural position is just so far up the field to the point where they pretty much are playing as wingers. So I don't really think that's too much of an issue. And it's really when you've got that diamond formation and you've got the defensive midfielder dropping back, it's kind of like a three at the back at times. So yeah, I don't really see too much issue in not playing with wingers sometimes, as long as we've got, creativity in all areas of the pitch. But yeah, Pogba, he seems to be able to do a job out wide, even though it's not his starting position. He's capable of getting out wide loads of times. He's got a brilliant cross on him, and he's someone who, has got the trickery of, your typical winger as such. So, if we get any injuries or whatever and we have to play Pogba as like a left winger in the front three, then I wouldn't be too opposed to seeing that. But as for wingers, yeah, it seems to be a lot more in the top teams as well that I've noticed. You've got wingers who don't really get down the byline as per se. They usually cut inside, which is I think why Ashley Young in particular struggles so much against smaller teams, because they've got those more typical wingers who are just going to stay wide all the time, because his defending one-on-one is absolutely atrocious.
Yeah.
And at least when you've got a winger who's going to cut inside, you've got, a defensive midfielder or a small one to cover them. So yeah, I'd say we probably need one or two more wingers, but I don't think it's a massive priority if we go ahead and play a formation that doesn't really occupy them.
Yeah, I think you're right there, Matthew. Wingers aren't really wingers as we once used to remember them, like your Giggs and your Beckham, who would literally hog the touchline, and they would literally stay wide and occupy those flanks. But we don't see that anymore.
Yeah.
Normally you've in your attack you've usually got either a front three or a 4-2-3-1. And normally in that three, the wide attacking midfielders in that three usually are, if they're playing on the left, they're right footed. If they're playing on the right, they're left footed, because they naturally cut in, and then they rely on the fullbacks to occupy the flanks, whether they're either underlapping or overlapping. So I don't think we see wingers in that sense anymore, which is fine. No problem with that. But I would absolutely love to see Martial and Rashford as a front two pairing. I mean, who wouldn't? That would be absolutely phenomenal. But I don't think we will see it. I mean, we've seen Martial play up front a few times because, we all thought that at one point that was his position. I've never thought that, by the way. But even when he has played as a number 9 a few times, he always tends to drift out wide anyway and come in from the left. So it's like, well, what's the point in playing you as a striker? Just play wide, because it's not like by playing wide you can never come central. Do you know what I mean? Because that's not right. You can play from the left, but you're going to find yourself in central positions at times, which he does, and he scores from those positions. And I think a lot of the time as well, the front three, they do interchange. Sometimes you might see Martial over on the left, especially under Ole. I've seen it a few times where Martial will pop over onto the left, even if it's only for 5 minutes, just to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? We've seen that a couple of times. So, but I don't think. I mean, if we were going to play with Martial and Rashford up front, I wouldn't want to see Pogba on the left, so to speak. I'd want to see him behind those two, playing as the number 10, because we would score 12 goals a game with him behind those two. How astonishing would that be? But I think the system we're playing at the moment, the 4-3-3, is working for us, so we should stick to it.
Andrew, you back with us?
Yeah, I am back. Sorry, guys. I'm just finished wrapping up at work. I'm walking back to my car right now.
All good.
So, for me, a classic 4-4-2 where we would kind of play in a diamond formation would make sense if we were to bring in some better fullbacks, because at the moment, I don't know if Luke Shaw is the guy to play in a system like that. Because defensively, yes, he is very, very sound. But part of the reason why I'm not sold on him yet is because we're just now starting to see that he can get further forward. And I think that Delo could be the answer at right back for that. But at the end of the day, we still haven't seen enough of him to know. So for now, I think that the 4-3-3 works out well because, number one, with the way that the team is playing, it seems like that front three, when Martial, Rashford, and Lingard are all healthy, that they all graft together. It's not like they have one specific spot. And all of them can kind of play across the front three really anywhere. So for me, I think that sticking with what has been working, and I get that this is kind of relating to injuries and everything, but sticking with what's been working when everybody's healthy is exactly what we should be doing. Because having players that can graft across that front three really does make it so our attack is going to be unstoppable.
Dynamic.
Being honest. Yeah, dynamic.
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, yeah, 2 left. Ike Iguala, he says the race for 4th spot is as tight as balls. Okay, that reference. With our injury problems and the fixtures coming ahead, are you still confident we can nick this 4th spot?
Absolutely. I'm absolutely confident of it. I put a tweet out, I think it was just before Mourinho was sacked, or it might have been just after when Ole took over. But I put a tweet out saying that I thought we could get 38 points from our remaining games. That was being sort of slightly optimistic, but kind of realistic as well. I thought we could get 38 points from our remaining games, which would give us, I think, 75 points at that point, which I think, if I remember rightly, 9 of the last 12 seasons, that would get you in the top 4. Yeah. So I said, there is still a chance we can get in the top 4. And as it stands at the moment, we're doing a lot better than what I had predicted back then. And yeah, you are right. It is tight as balls at the moment. And I think even with our injuries, the way we've played with those injuries at the moment, I think we can do it. I think we still can nick that top spot. Absolutely, 100%.
Math? Andrew?
I'll go.
Okay.
Yeah, Matthew, go.
All right, go. I've got absolutely no doubt that United will finish in top 4. I think it's almost dead certain at this point. I think Arsenal, even though they're ahead of us right now, they do tend to bottle it, especially at the late stages, and Tottenham do that. Well, actually, no, Tottenham in third. It's Chelsea who are right below us. I mean, what even are Chelsea at the moment? They're just an absolute shambles of a club. Nothing's going right for them, so I don't really see them threatening the 4th position. But yeah, like Paul said, we've just been on an absolute mad run since Ole took charge and has exceeded pretty much all of our expectations. I think you had said, what was it, 37 points you were hoping to get?
Yeah, 38. I calculated it.
We've got 29 of those so far. So the chances are, we've got 10 games. We could probably get another 7 wins from that, and that would put us to about 76 points. Which
yes,
again,
it's definitely going to be tight.
Yeah, it'll be tight, but I think we'll come out on top of that, best of the rest.
So although I did say that at the time when I worked it out, it would give us a total of 75 points, or whatever it was at the time, and 9 of the last 12 seasons that would have got us in the top 4. One thing I should point out is that it wouldn't have got us in the top 4 in the last couple of seasons.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Because people are getting more points recently in the top 4, top 6 teams. So it's going to be very tight. I'm not completely sold on it, but I do think we can still do it.
I think it's games like this weekend that are going to make or break our push for the top 4, because we're playing Southampton at home. We should be beating them. And then you look at a fixture like Spurs and Arsenal, first kickoff early Saturday. So they one of the teams or both of them are going to drop points. If Arsenal don't win, we'll overtake them. If Arsenal do win, that means we'll only be 2 points behind Spurs. So obviously, and the table will stay the same. So if Arsenal do win and we win, we're within 1 victory then of jumping to 3rd. So it's going to be very tight. I mean, we've still got big games to come. We've still got to play City. We've still got to play Arsenal. Is there any other big teams that we play? I'm not too sure, but
we've got to play City again, haven't we?
Yeah. So Arsenal and City. I think they're the 2 big games left.
Chelsea, 5 days after the Man City game.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I think so. It's going to be a tough ask. I think we should be beating Arsenal. I think we should be beating Chelsea. But again, these are never given games, and I think the City one is going to be a big ask for us. And I think that's going to split opinion on a lot of the fan base. Obviously, you never want United to lose, and you want United to win every game. But depending on what happens with the results, with the Scousers as well, is going to be interesting, and how that throws things into perspective. But we've got to get into the top 4. We've got to win our games. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. But I'm fairly confident as well.
Cool.
I mean, for me, I am not only confident, but I'm certain that we will get top four. I look at the way that Chelsea, Arsenal, and Tottenham are all playing, and I think we're better than them. And at the rate that we're going, we've still got Chelsea, City, and Arsenal to play. I'm actually confident going into those matches now, especially if we have a full and healthy squad. So I don't see us dropping many points for the rest of the year, barring any more serious injuries. So knock on wood on that one. But I am supremely optimistic that we could wind up finishing third, which is absolutely insane to think about.
Yeah. I mean, looking at the three that we've got, as we've all mentioned, is the City, the Chelsea, and the Arsenal games. Apart from that, though, I mean, we've got Southampton obviously coming up. We've got Wolves. We've got Watford. We've got West Ham. We've got Everton. We've got Cardiff and Huddersfield. So obviously, no game is a given in the Premier League, but they certainly do look favourable. Out of 7, I think it was you, Matthew, who said you could win 7 of those 10 games. I mean, there's 7 of those games that look extremely winnable, and that's not counting in the 3 big games as well, which we could go and win. So I'm confident. I'm hoping we'll get the top 4, and I think our form and our desire to get there is more than the other teams, I think.
Absolutely.
And then to finish us off then, Cam Ballocks, he says, opinions on ticket availability for away games for non-members. Always wanted to go to an away game, but not a season ticket holder as I don't live in Manchester. I'll just give my 2 cents on this because something I've experienced recently. I think it's very hit and miss. I think certainly now it's more difficult than ever, being as we are performing, we're playing well, we're winning away pretty much every game at the moment. And obviously everyone wants to see Ole's Manchester United play. I mean, from my experience, the prices are pretty extortionate for away games. You're looking at anywhere north of £120, £150 a ticket, which is what I've experienced, which is pretty ridiculous. But what can be done? I'm not too sure. I mean, maybe you guys, I know, Matthew, you've been to a few games recently. Have you had any sort of similar experiences?
I'm a member and I've never been to a away game, so I'm probably the least qualified person to answer this.
Fair enough.
Just when I've looked for tickets, it's been ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like Ash said, over £100 easily, and it's ridiculous. But it is what it is. End of the day, and there's not really a lot you can do about it, unfortunately.
No.
This is coming from the guy that I have to travel a long way to get to Old Trafford.
Just a bit, yeah.
Yeah,
it's a wee drive.
It's a small drive.
Yeah.
I think that you can, make it maybe in a day.
Yeah.
If you really needed to. But in all seriousness, though, for someone that next year, I'm trying in September next year to come to, and Matthew and I have talked about this a lot. I want to go to a home match, a Champions League match, and an away match in about 9 days.
Wow.
If that's at all possible. And I don't care what I have to pay to go to those matches. I've got to make it happen.
Yeah.
Because it's for me, not only is it, I want to be there, but it's also like I have to go. Like if I'm coming over, I don't care what I have to pay. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, that's just not possible. So I don't know. I feel blessed that I'm in the position that I'm in, that I'm able to even consider coming over. And, if at the end of the day, if I've got to pay £120, £130 a ticket, that's what I got to do. I mean, luckily now, I'm not going to throw out any names that way I don't get people in trouble, but I know of quite a few people that are season ticket holders, and that if I told them I was coming over, they would help me out.
Yeah.
So, it's a benefit to having, the community that we've gained. And I feel blessed to be part of this Manchester United community and know the people that I do, because it's everybody cares about each other. And yeah, not everybody's going to have a similar experience, but for me, I wish that it was easier because like Matthew said, I'm a member as well. I wish it was easier for members to get away tickets, but it's not always possible.
I think one tip I can give it seems to work most of the time is if you're in a position where you can get to the away ground, wherever it may be, maybe it's in your local city and you're a United fan and you want to, see United play wherever they are. I think the morning of the game and the day of the game is probably your best bet to get the best prices, because obviously after that game's gone, any outstanding tickets that need to be sold are going to be worthless. And I see that. I mean, there's plenty of accounts online, on Twitter, on Facebook, and things like that. With United Spares. And usually the morning and the day of the game, a lot of tickets go for face value, some even cheaper, approaching kickoff time, because people just want to get rid of them. That's the only advice I can give you. Obviously, it makes it a lot more difficult if you're arranging a group of you that want to go. I mean, that was what I had. There was a few of us who wanted to go to the Cardiff game, which is my local game. But due to prices and just not enough availability, I could have had maybe one or two at a better price close to the game, but that would have mean me having to travel up there and gambling essentially on getting one. But that's the best tip I think I can give you in terms of avoiding high prices, but it is a gamble.
There we have it.
Yeah, that's it.
I think that's it then, is it, for the tweets? Well, that's great. Thank you, everyone who has tweeted. It's always a pleasure to read your tweets out and discuss them. And a special thank you to Andrew, who's joining us from the States. Not only that, he's done it whilst he's been working as well and traveling. So, Andrew, we appreciate that very much.
I will gladly join you guys anytime. And believe it or not, I was actually home this week, thank God. So I actually just got home. And I'm actually, for anybody that watches my channel, Arthur is currently greeting me as I've come home. So he is very happy that Dad's home. But I really appreciate you guys having me on. And I will join you guys anytime you ask me.
That's absolutely no problem. And we do promote your show every week as well now. So whilst you're on, you may as well self-promote, Andrew. Take it away.
Well, I really appreciate that. Well, guys, if you didn't already know, I have my own YouTube channel now. I've had the likes of Ash Boyo and Paul Gardner and Matthew McFadyen on. I mean, Matthew may or may not be a weekly guest. I can't confirm or deny anything.
It's basically my channel at this point.
It's basically my channel.
But I mean,
Red Beardy's forehead.
I have a channel where I talk about Manchester United, Premier League, NFL, and if I get to a point where if the channel maybe starts making a little bit of money, I'll try and do more sports. Maybe I'll try and do some NBA and NHL. I'll never do baseball because, let's face it, baseball, even though I played it, is boring as hell.
No one watches baseball.
Yeah, it's boring. It's just, believe me, it's boring. So, yeah, guys, if please come over and sub. It's the Red Bearded Red on YouTube, and we have great guests on all the time. And I love the community that we're growing over there. It's growing a lot faster than I ever dreamed it would be possible. So, hope you guys can join us sometime.
And hopefully, with this little plug, it will grow even quicker.
You know what? I mean, there's always a dream, right? Where there is a dream, there is a possibility.
Absolutely. And Matthew, thank you for joining us as well. It was a bit short notice, so appreciate that. That's cool. And I believe you also have something. Well, you do have something to promote yourself and your Etsy store. So go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, I remember the last time I was on here. It was I think it was the end of August after the Brighton game.
Yep.
And you were mentioning that, and I said, yeah, I might be selling some artwork in the future. And then it's turned into Offside Graphics, which has been, the name of it has been suggested by Ash himself. So cheers for that.
Well, yeah.
I mean, to be fair,
still waiting for my commission, but it's
you did suggest Offside Design, so it's not exactly the name, but I'll give it to you nonetheless.
Yeah.
And I think yesterday I passed my 200 sale on that, which is absolutely mental considering it started, I think, just under 4 months ago.
Not to mention, that you were also featured in the official Premier League preview for Manchester United against Liverpool.
That was the most mental thing I've ever seen. It wasn't on just Sky Sports; it was on NBC, Fox Sports, and stuff. And I thought, bloody hell!
It was on the NBC Sports broadcast here. Yeah.
That's mental. I've tried contacting the guy who ordered it, and he's not answered. So unlucky. But yeah, so for hitting 200 sales, I've done a giveaway, and the giveaway runs for another sort of 24 hours or so. And it's my pinned tweet. All you need to do is retweet it, and you're automatically entered in. So yeah, if you want to win yourself a free poster, there's going to be 2 winners. So retweet it and you might have a chance.
What's your Twitter handle?
Twitter is @_Matthew, so it's @_MAFFOO, and the Etsy store is offsidegraphics.com.
And there we go. Excellent. And Ash, did you want to give out your details? You got nothing to promote, have you?
No, just positivity. Yeah, @AshBoyo, ASHBOIO.
Excellent. And you can follow myself as well as @PaulGardnerMU. I also don't have anything to promote other than this podcast, obviously.
Yeah.
So if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you drop us a like, get involved in the comments, share the video around with all your friends. If you're listening on your podcast app, listen on YouTube and drop us a comment.
Yeah.
or contact us on Twitter @UnitedStandPod. Also follow the main United Stand account if you're not already @UnitedStandMUFC. And it feels weird because normally this is the point where I'd introduce or promote Andrew, but he's done that already. And also Van Cam as well. We do promote that every week because I'm a big fan of Van Cam. I love the stuff that Kev Ashford does over there. So definitely look up Van Cam and subscribe to that as well.
I've got to reach out to Kev, man. I would love to have him on the show. He's freaking hilarious.
Yeah, definitely. If you can, you should.
I'll try reaching out to him this weekend. I've already got a guest plan for Southampton, but I mean, maybe I can get him on for the next Premier League game. I really would love to have him on.
Yeah, he's difficult to get hold of, mind. I've tried to get him on the podcast a few times, but I don't think he's online very much. But definitely try.
Yeah.
But I think, go on.
I definitely will, because he is somebody that I have a lot of respect for, and he puts a lot of hard work into his videos, guys. So definitely, please subscribe to his channel.
There we go. Fantastic. Well, guys, all of you, thank you for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's very rare that we have two. Sorry,
Yeah.
on. It's very rare that we have 4 people. So it's been good. It's been about an hour and a half, I think, which is officially our longest podcast. So I wonder how many people will actually stay and listen for the whole duration. We'll soon see. If any of you are hearing this, make sure you drop us a comment, a like, or a tweet. Let us know. But yeah, again, thanks to you all for joining me, and for all of you listening. We will be back next Thursday, and I do believe we have Martin Pert joining us, another guy formerly of the United Stand. I'm sure you'll know who he is. And so yeah, thank you all, and we'll be back next week.